It's 10 p.m. in Banjul, and from our studios on MDI Road, this is the news for the headlines. A high-powered Kenyan government delegation headed by Vice President William Ruto jets into Banjul. Government rolls out a multi-million dollars intervention designed to help conserve what remains of our ecosystems. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry warns the sanctions will swing into action if Iran fails to abide by the provisions of the newly reached agreement. Mexican authorities follow leads and information on the possible whereabouts of Guzman El Chapo, a notorious drug lord who escaped from prison 4 days ago. These and other stories coming ahead this half hour. I am your presenter, Fatma Tundu Job. The High Commissioner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the Gambia, Madam Esther Odo, who doubles as the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, has sent a letter of appreciation to the President, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babali Mansa, and the text reads, "My dear brother, it is my pleasure to inform you that I have completed my tour of duty as the Nigerian High Commissioner to the Gambia and will be going back to my great country, Nigeria, next month. On behalf of myself, my family, and the entire staff of the Nigerian High Commission, I am indeed very grateful for the support you gave to me during my stay in the Gambia. Thank you for being a good friend and for making my stay a memorable one. I pray that Almighty God will reward you and your family greatly and see you through all your future endeavors. Please accept the assurances of my highest consideration and esteem." It ends. Former National Assembly member Cherno Cham has also sent a message to the head of state, and the text reads, "Allow me, sir, to once more reiterate my thanks and appreciation for the recent release of 85 prisoners. This extension of your prerogative of mercy to 85 inmates is indeed marvelous and laudable. Sir, the number free this year is a landmark in the history of the Gambia. This gesture, particularly in this holy month of Ramadan, is immaculate. The move demonstrates your philanthropy and kind-heartedness. Sir, may I seize this opportunity to pray for your long life and good health, so that you can continue to bless more with your merciful, tender heart. I conclude my wishing Your Excellency the best of luck and God's guidance and protection." It ends. Kenya's Vice President William Ruto this afternoon paid a courtesy call on the President of the Republic, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babali Mansa at State House. Mr. Ruto is at the head of a strong delegation, which includes parliamentarians who are in the country to strengthen Gambia-Kenya relations. The Kenyan delegation was accompanied to State House by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Nene Magdolgei. After extensive talks held behind closed doors, Vice President Ruto later briefed waiting journalists on the purpose and outcome of his meeting with President Jammeh. Here's an excerpt.
Come to this great country, Gambia, which has excellent relations with our country, Kenya, and we are grateful to the President, the government, and the people of Gambia for according us time to explore greater cooperation between our two countries. The President has been very generous this time, and we have discussed wide-ranging issues concerning the two countries, how we need to cooperate and share experiences on many areas of mutual benefit between our two countries, ranging from trade to agro-processing, to matters of agriculture, matters of areas of higher education and training and tourism. I mean, these are very important areas to both Gambia and Kenya. And also discuss matters relating to continental issues and international matters.
A delegation of bankers from the public and private sector on Wednesday paid a courtesy call on the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs. The visit by the group led by the Central Bank Governor was in part meant to introduce the new Chief Executive Officer of Standard Bank Limited, the Gambia, Albert R. Sultan, to Gambian authorities. Sultan commended government for deepening the financial sector by putting in place the national switch, but not without renewing Standard Bank's resolve to continue complying with laws of the country. Ajay Dr. Aissatou Saidi assured the new Standard Chartered Bank Chief Executive Officer of government's unrelenting support, but urged officials of what is seen as one of the leading financial institutions in the Gambia to support agriculture, which she said requires massive investment. The governor of Central Bank of the Gambia, Amadou Koli, hailed Standard Chartered Bank for complying with the country's financial regulations. The government of the Gambia is hereby informing members of the general public that it still upholds the findings of the Commission of Inquiry on Tax Evasion and will commence full execution of its recommendations by 31st December 2015. A news release from State House states that all those found liable by the Tax Commission are therefore urged to comply, failing which the circumstances will be drastic. A delegation of bankers from the public and private sector on Wednesday paid a courtesy call on the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs. The visit by the group led by the Central Bank Governor was in part meant to introduce the new Chief Executive Officer of Standard Bank Limited, the Gambia, Albert R. Sultan, to Gambian authorities. Sultan commended government for deepening the financial sector by putting in place the national switch, but not without renewing Standard Bank's resolve to continue complying with laws of the country. Ajay Dr. Aissatou Saidi assured the new Standard Chartered Bank Chief Executive Officer of government's unrelenting support, but urged officials of what is seen as one of the leading financial institutions in the Gambia to support agriculture, which she said requires massive investment. The governor of Central Bank of the Gambia, Amadou Koli, hailed Standard Chartered Bank for complying with the country's financial regulations. The Muslim faithful multiplied their acts of generosity during the holy month of Ramadan, providing relief aid to less privileged members of society. One body that did just that in the Gambia is the Gambian arm of the UK-based charity Cause Affecting Real Change. Kadja Tijala has more on that.
Real Change, the Gambia, according to the founder and coordinator, has been engaged in providing support in the health and education sector. And this is the first time funds were raised by British Muslims in the UK in the name of their colleague, the late Hassan Ali, who passed away 2 months ago to support needy families in the Gambia. According to Saidi, the beneficiaries were selected from different parts of the country in consultation with the village Al-Kalulu, who gathered here to receive the donations.
Just 3 or 4 months ago, we are giving a donation of more than $35 million of medical equipment to the Department of Social Welfare, Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. And today we are here again to witness another donation to the poor and needy people in the Gambia. We have purchased 165 bags of rice for it to be distributed across the Gambia. And we want to give each and everyone at least 1 bag of 50 kilogram rice. We believe that, myself and my volunteers believe that when you are giving out something, give out something that will benefit the receiver, the beneficiary. So that's why we went in for the 50 kilogram bags of rice, because we see that donating, giving out something smaller than that might not address the needs of the beneficiaries.
Ibrahim Assis, speaking on behalf of the Supreme Islamic Council, hailed the initiative and called for wealthy Muslims to emulate them and come to the aid of the needy, especially in the month of Ramadan. Imam Ismaila Fati of Al-Jamdu commended the coordinator, Musa Said, who is a native of Al-Jamdu, describing him as patriotic. Several other imams from different parts of the country who graced the occasion read verses of the Quran to express the importance Islam attaches to sharing and caring in the holy month. They also prayed for the leadership of this country for providing the enabling environment to enhance relations between the Gambia and donors outside the country. Khadija Tujalo, GRTS News.
Still on issues revolving around the month of Ramadan, during which life grinds to a halt more or less, especially during the day, now that the feast of Eid al-Fitr or Qarite is fast approaching, everything seems to be moving at a great speed as people prepare for the feast. GRTS's Aissatou Keita has been out and about to compare the mood at the start of the month and its last days, and she now reports.
Muslims, we are preparing for the month of Ramadan, buying utensils, food and its related items. As the end looks near now, many are concentrating on the buying of clothes, shoes and other stuffs in preparation for the feast of Eid al-Fitr, locally known as Qarite. Qarite has a lot to do with Ramadan, as it also marks the end of a month-long fasting. Busy in the streets are women, most of them buying clothing and its related items. This is also a moment when tailors, hairdressers as well as those selling shoes and other related items receive clients day by day. In other words, it's a race against time for them.
We are trying small, anyway, the fixing this year, we thank God. Even though we just start, people are coming small, but we still have the hope, we still have the faith that people are more coming. Yes, because it's today we start fixing. Yes, we expect more people to come.
For some of the tailors, the feast of Qarite and Toboski are their busiest moments, when most will be bringing their materials to be sewn. But in the face of the added pressure that comes with such festivities, these skilled people also go the extra mile to satisfy their customers by sewing the huge amount of clothes brought to them by their clientele. During Ramadan, most hairdressers complain of pennilessness and less busy. But when it comes to the tail end of this holy month, customers will start to show up in their numbers, all preparing ahead of the Qarite celebrations. Sales are on and in high gear, for everyone could be seen popping in and out of shops, whilst vendors sit in the streets, selling goods at prices that tend to be much reasonable in respect of the fast approaching Qarite. With just a couple of days to go, Muslims around the world will be celebrating the feast of Eid al-Fitr, commonly known as Qarite, which will be characterized with prayers and thanksgiving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, coupled with the consumption of sumptuous dish and dressing in their beautiful traditional African attires. Aissatou Keita, GRTS.
The Office of the First Lady wishes to inform the general public that Mrs. Fatouma Diop Ndiaye has been appointed Executive Director of Operation Save the Children Foundation with effect from 4th July 2015. Meanwhile, government on Tuesday launched a $1.5 million project designed to complement ongoing efforts to protect the country's ecosystem and biodiversity. Louis Mendy reports the Department of Parks and Wildlife Management is the lead implementing partner of the Protected Areas and Network and Community Livelihood Scheme funded by the Global Environment Facility Project.
Protected Areas Network and Community Livelihood Project is the $1.5 million scheme recently made available to the Gambia government by the Global Environment Facility Project. Funds are earmarked for the protection of the country's ecosystem and biodiversity. Key intervention sites for the project included the Jokado National Park, the Baobolon Wetlands Reserve, and the Kiang West National Park. At the launch ceremony, adequately attended by the local authorities and other members of the beneficiary regions and communities, Honorable Pa Usman Jaju, the Environment Minister, and Dauda Baji of the National Environmental Agency said the project would only help to actualize that which the government stands for on the preservation of its existing forest cover, vegetation, as well as its coastal wetlands.
The relevance of this project and its usefulness cannot be overemphasized, since the National Protected Areas System integrates the principal biomass and habitats found in the country, including mangrove ecosystems, the gallery forest, offshore islands, littoral forest, tidal zones, as well as open and dense savanna woodlands.
The project will build on the already implemented ongoing project and initiative with the objective to address the gaps, institutional and community livelihood capacities for effective and sustainable natural resources management.
Since about 90% of the country's population is dependent on biomass fuel, when only 3.5% of the lands remains under primary forest cover, The situation further summarizes the importance of the project.
This is a clear indication of the importance of protected areas in the conservation of our forests and related ecosystems. Secondly, it is worth noting that the ecosystem can be undermined and degraded by poor, unsustainable agricultural practices, especially through practices that leave the topsoil exposed in the dry season, as well as the widespread use of fire for preparing the ground during the planting season.
The UNDP Senior Economic Advisor said the chosen intervention sites for the project was not a coincidence.
The choice of these sites for the project is not a coincidence, but a deliberate and well-calculated decision informed by science to protect the diversity of plants, animals, fungi, microbes, etc., and the ecosystem in which these occur for food security and well-being.
The ecosystems and biodiversity provide food, fuel, medication, materials, and indeed water. They also support economies and life, hence the need to protect them. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
Magistrate Mamoudou L.K. Bojang of Birkama Magistrates Court has found Yusuf Suso and Matar Jame guilty of dumping waste at Salaji Forest Park and sentenced them accordingly. Babakar Senghor reports on that.
Two men were on Tuesday summoned to appear before Magistrate Mamoudou L.K. Bojang of the Birkama Magistrates Court on charges of illegal waste dumping at the Salaji Forest Park in the Cumbernauld district. When the case was called, the NEO prosecutor, Mamoudou S.F. Bojang, narrated the very reason the two were dragged to court by the National Environment Agency as contained in the particulars of offense. Bojang informed the court that the first accused, Yusuf Suso, and second accused, Matar Jame, on the 13th day of July 2015, were alleged to have transported solid waste into the Salaji Forest Park on a vehicle with registration number BJL 9979H, therefore committed an offense. He said the two were caught by a team of officials of the Ministry of Environment, Parks and Wildlife and NEA who were on a visit to the said site. He said the officials led by the Minister of Environment, Parks and Wildlife, Pausman Jaju, later discovered a plastic container with solid waste on board the first accused person's vehicle. Both pleaded not guilty. The first accused, Yusuf Suso, claimed a passerby in Serekunda told him that a legal dump site exists around Salaji Forest Park and that he went in search of the site. I did not intend to dump waste at the Salaji Forest Park, he argued. The second accused, Matar Jame, denies having any intention regarding the act. He told the court that he just assisted the first accused in transporting the waste. I am well aware that Salaji Forest Park is not a legal dump site, Jame said. Basiru Gay, forestry officer, and Sisao Jaju, senior environment inspector at NEA, testified in the case as first and second prosecution witnesses respectively. Having listened to submissions from both parties, the presiding magistrate said the prosecutors have proven their case beyond reasonable doubt. Magistrate Bojang therefore sentenced the first accused to a fine of $4,500 or in default to serve 6 months imprisonment, while the second accused, Matar Jame, was given a fine of $3,500 or in default to serve 5 months imprisonment. For GRTS News, this is Babakar Senghor.
We will be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break.
Yeah, people was scared, afraid. They say the water will take Banjul.
The effects are very evident. One just has to walk down the beach.
That we are below 1 meter. So rising sea level in 1 meter will affect the capital city of the Gambia, that is Banjul.
And then how to support communities that are within the coastal zone but are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change.
That's why today people are coming to see the reality.
They say, I don't know, around Iceland, I don't know where, the ice is start to melt.
If some action is not taken urgently,
climate change is about knowledge, because you have to first understand what it means, what it could lead to as far as your life is concerned.
Welcome back. The U.S. president is readying himself for a fresh round of questioning over the complex nuclear agreement with Iran, just a day after international negotiators finally clinched a deal in Vienna. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, meanwhile, has said, should Iran fail to live up to the terms of the deal, sanctions will snap right back in their place. He and his Iranian counterpart, Javad Zarif, spoke to CNN shortly after the nuclear deal was reached.
The NPT, they're living by it now. And they say they're living by it now. They haven't lived by it completely, which is why we put the sanctions on them. So now we're putting to test whether or not there's a change of heart, a change of mind, a change of direction. And if there isn't, we have every option available to us every day that we have right now.
Neither side was prepared to provide the flexibility that has now led us to this agreement. If you look at the fact that now Iran has a nuclear program, an enrichment program, a heavy water reactor, an R&D program, a complete nuclear, peaceful, because it was always peaceful.
Mexican authorities are still trying to hunt down a notorious drug lord who escaped from a maximum security prison 4 days ago. New video showed the moment El Chapo fled his cell. He was seen pacing back and forth, and just moments later, El Chapo walks towards the shower area of his room. Officials say he apparently made his way down through an elaborate tunnel and used a motorcycle to make his way to a half-built house outside the prison walls. CNN's Brian Todd has more on the leads being followed by law enforcement and the information that they may have missed.
Of the menacing drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, and new information on a key piece of intelligence that may not have been heeded. A law enforcement official tells CNN following his capture in 2014.